In this episode, I will discuss MS-13. MS-13 started over 30 years ago. MS-13 began in LA, with many El Salvadorian immigrants moving to America because of the Central American Civil Wars. MS-13 was made to protect them from more established and violent gangs. One of the first sets started in Pico Union area, later spreading all over. By the 80s and 90s, the Mexican Mafia took control of the streets from behind the walls, making many Latino gangs pay taxes and fall under the Mexican Mafia umbrella. Many of these gangs adopted the number 13 to show their allegiance to the Mexican Mafia. That's why you see today many Latino gangs having 13 in their names. Very few didn't follow the Mexican Mafia new arrangement, but MS-13 were ones who did. Many members of MS-13 were deported back to their countries in the 90s. This caused MS-13 to spread to other countries, with many MS-13 leaders being deported and started crews in their countries. MS-13 is now one of the biggest gangs in the world. It is said they have over 50,000 members worldwide in places like El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras. They are also all spread out all through the US. MS-13 became one of the most ruthless gangs in LA. They have several different cliques and rivals, with many of their cliques being spread out in different areas. They beef with a lot of gangs like 18th Street, Crazy Riders, Barrio Van Nuys, and Hobart Street, just to name a few. Now I'm going to get into some cases involving MS-13 and their rivals. On June 18th, 2004, Alexander attended his cousin's graduation party on 59th and San Pedro. Alexander went to the party with his brother Enrique and friends Mario and Carlos. When they arrived, they seen two men, Dennis and Juan, by a table that contained all the drinks, with three other men. Alexander seen a man with an LA Dodger hat approach the table to get something to drink. His path to the table was blocked by Dennis and Juan's group. They asked the man where was he from. He denied he banged. The group pressed him more until he admitted he was from a group called SSK. Dennis and Juan's group yelled out MS-13, and a group of 5 circled the SSK member and whooped on him until one of the MS-13 members' banger fell from his waist. SSK member immediately ran. Dennis and 3 of the MS-13s ran after him. Juan and another man stayed back. Alexander's brother Enrique approached Juan and tried to calm down the situation, but he got punched by Juan. Enrique swung back, but Juan pulled out a banger and shot Enrique. Enrique would lose his life. Alexander ran to his brother's side, where Juan put a banger to his chest, and it jammed. Juan and the man he was with ran out the house. Mario, who was outside during the whole incident, was shot by Dennis and the other 3 MS-13 members when they ran outside to chase the SSK member. Alexander was later interviewed and picked Dennis and Juan out of photo lineups. Many of the partygoers came forth and pointed Dennis and Juan as the starting altercation and being the shooters. Dennis was sentenced to 80 years to life, and Juan was sentenced to 115 years to life. September 7, 2005. A man named Kevin, who was from a set called Hobart Street, went to help his friend Edwin, who was also from the same set, move his non-functioning car. While there, 2 men Carlos and Omar would pass by and mugged him, but would not say anything. After they were finished, Kevin and Edwin began to walk on San Marino Street when Omar appeared in front of them and asked them where were they from. Edwin told Omar that they didn't bang. Omar yelled MS-13 and dissed Hobart Street. Kevin and Edwin kept walking. Omar then socked Kevin in the back of his head. Carlos reappeared out of a cut and began to shoot at Kevin. Kevin lost his life. Many of the residents in that neighborhood seen the altercation and seen the shooting and later testified. Evan picked both Omar and Carlos out of a lineup. At trial, Carlos' affiliation was used against him. He was in a TV series about MS-13. They played footage of the series in court to show his allegiance to MS-13 and his intentions that day. On the show, he admitted he would shoot anybody who came into his territory or who was a rival. Both Carlos and Omar were charged in the shooting. August 6, 2006. Around 9 p.m., Jose went to his cousin's apartment on Van Owen Street. While he waited for the gate of the apartments to open, Jose seen 2 men climb over the wall. As he parked, he seen 2 men approach a parked Impala. Jose heard them ask the man in the Impala where was he from. Then shots followed. This was all caught on tape. The victim's name was Nelson, and he lost his life. Months later, Jose was picked up to identify the suspects. He picked a man named Marlon as one of the shooters. Van Owen Street was claimed by Barrio Van Nuys, and an NY hat was being worn by the victim. That was common gear for the Barrio Van Nuys. August 7, 2006. Jose, Elizabeth, Miguel, and Sonia were all standing out in front of an apartment building. They noticed a red Honda drive by and mug and then keep driving. The red Honda parked and two men came back near their apartments. They approached Jose and asked Jose where was he from. Before he could respond, they yelled out MS and started shooting. Jose was shot 3 times, but he survived. Jose later picked Marlon out of a live lineup. An hour later, Felencio, Jose, Jesus, and a few others were sitting in front of an apartment building on Heartland Street in Van Nuys. When Felencio turned around, he seen Marlon and 2 other men shooting at him. Felencio was shot multiple times, but he survived. Jesus was shot, but he lost his life. Jose told police they yelled, "Where y'all from?" Then shooting followed. Jose was from Canoga Park. Felencio later picked Marlon out as one of the shooters. August 14th, 2006. Doris and a few friends were sitting in a 7-Eleven parking lot around 1:30 a.m. 2 men pulled up in a red Honda and began to shoot. Several of the people in Doris' car was from Blythe Street. She later testified and said Marlon was the shooter. Marlon was from the Fulton Locals clique of the MS-13, and all of the shooting victims were from Barrio, Van Nuys, Reseda Southside, Canoga Park, Blythe Street, and Hobart Street. Marlon was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. October 23rd, 2009. Brian lived on Van Noen Street. He was standing in front of his apartment with Robert and Jose. Ignacio walked up and put a banger to Robert's head and said, "Where you from?" Robert said, "Nowhere." Ignacio said MS and shot Robert in the face. Robert fell and Jose started to run. Robert would lose his life. Weeks before the shooting, Robert and Ignacio got into an altercation at school. Robert dissed MS-13. Robert was from Barrio, Van Nuys. Ignacio was picked up and admitted to the shooting. He was sentenced to 75 years to life. January 23rd, 2010. Around 5 a.m., police responded to a shooting on Canfield Avenue. They found 2 people shot in the head. Both lost their lives. The victims' names were Alejandro and Oscar. Alejandro's girlfriend described 2 men who did the shooting and picked him out of a lineup. Alejandro's girlfriend told the police the house often had a lot of people coming in and out. Others who were at the apartment said they heard arguing, then shooting, then 2 men running out the apartments. One of the shooters was identified as being the man named Jamie from MS. Jamie was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. This last case happened on May 31st, 2015. Brothers Eduardo and Jesus stopped at a light in North Hollywood. 5 men ran towards the car yelling, "Where y'all from?" Jesus responded, "Nowhere." One of the men yelled, "MS." One of the MS-13 members, Carlos, shot up the car 10 times, not hitting either brother. When the light changed, Eduardo drove away. The 5 MS members got in the car, but was pulled over by a nearby police officer. Inside the car, police found multiple bangers. At trial, neither brother testified. Even though Carlos missed every shot, he still received 35 years to life. To conclude this episode, if you haven't already, check out my previous videos. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.